Thank you, Tracy, so much for that introduction. I'm really excited to be with all of you again today. Today, we're going to be talking about Teledentistry 2.0. If you were at our last webinar or viewed our last webinar, we are really excited to bring with you some new and updated information. I can't wait to get started with everybody. So my name is Sarah Beth Herman. I am the Chief Executive Officer here at Dentistry Support. We are just really excited to rally around our dental families and share with you guys just the way that teledentistry is evolving every day. I feel like every day and every minute, it's just an ever evolving and growing topic that we all have the privilege of learning. And so I'm very excited to bring that to you today. Today, we're going to just briefly cover again the defining of teledentistry in case you are brand new to these webinars. I have a temporary closure checklist. So if your office did suffer from closure or you need to know what to do in the event of a closure, I'll have that for you today as well. I have 5 successful steps to teledentistry: teledentistry preparedness, communication with teledentistry, and then we're going to have a Q&A at the very end of today's presentation. So just like last time, first things first, let's make sure you take some notes. While we will have printables for you at the end of the live session, if you are watching this on a replay session, you will be provided with a link at the end to find out where those printables are located. But you are going to want to take notes. There's a lot of valuable information in here that we're going to share with you, that it is our humble hope you will go ahead and bring that back to your dental team and dental office and really share that. Shared knowledge is power, so take your notes and share with your team. So briefly, what is teledentistry? So many of you probably have heard of telehealth, and you may have just recently heard of it because truthfully, it's just an ever-evolving thing right now. And teledentistry is such a buzzword that it's probably got you looking at what telehealth is. So telehealth is delivering virtual medical, health, or education services through technology. And so we're taking teledentistry and doing the same thing. It's not a specific health service like just mental health care or just exams for preventive measures, but it's an overall medical health or education service that's performed through some method of technology. So teledentistry is the use of telehealth systems in dentistry. And that seems crazy when you first think about it, because dental is so literally in your face. And so when we're talking about bringing telehealth into dentistry, it's exciting because it's new, but it's also strange because it's uncharted territory. So consultations and follow-up, those are what we are doing in teledentistry. So if you are talking with a new patient for the very first time, or you are talking with an existing patient, checking up on them, or if you are following up on a emergency visit or a procedure that was done, we are doing all of that via teledentistry now. So why do we use teledentistry? This is a really important question, and we're going to talk about some statistics on teledentistry. So 70% of patients, they are actually comfortable communicating with their healthcare providers via text message, email, or video in lieu of seeing them in person. As you guys all probably know, there is just a huge wave of people working from home, and less and less people actually working in an office. And so because of that, it has made the ease of use of texting, email, and video conferencing just the norm in our society today. And so 70% of patients are very comfortable with communicating in that way. 76% of patients prioritize access to care over the needs for face-to-face interactions with their healthcare providers. And 30% of patients already use computers or mobile devices to check for medical or diagnostic information. So my thing and my thought, I guess you could say, is that if 30% of our patients are already going on Google or Bing or whatever search engine that they can and they're looking up ailments, why wouldn't we want every dental practice in the country to have the ability to do that with your dentist, and for your dentist to be able to bill for that? It is a great win for both, because not only is the patient having access to that mobile device and that search option and that communication option, but they're able to go to a reliable source and not simply self diagnose. So, teledentistry is useful because patients want it. They prioritize seeing you if they can see you in a way that's convenient. And they're already trying to use some form of telehealth or teledentistry. They just don't even realize it yet. So is it legal? That has been such a question that we keep getting questions on and that keep getting brought up. So before we go into all of the different downloads we have for you today and the updated information for you today, I'm going to encourage everyone that's on this webinar or watching this on the replay that you check your state dental board for information on if teledentistry is permitted in your state. There will come a day when teledentistry is extremely widely accepted, and there won't be ever any mentioning of it not being accepted. But with anything that is new, it is definitely normal for there to be certain states or districts or counties that don't want to participate in something like that because they don't know how to regulate it. And so be patient. While I know that's so hard, be patient with your state dental board. So many of them are currently in meetings and have scheduled meetings to make sure that teledentistry is available for patients. And those states that don't permit it, I would encourage you to reach out to your state dental board and be part of the movement that makes sure that it is available. Because the way that we need to look at it is that teledentistry provides a way to keep patients with toothaches out of the emergency room where they cannot be helped anyways. The emergency room may give them antibiotics, but they're going to need to see a dentist for whatever ailment might be coming their way. So there are so many benefits, and we want it all to be legal. If it's not legal in your state, definitely do not perform it, but be prepared to get ready to perform it. If you want to know how to find out if it's legal, literally just go right to your state dental board and they will be able to tell you. You can call them, email them. 9 times out of 10, it is probably going to be listed right on their website. So check that out first. So I want to talk about our temporary office closure checklist. So yes, everything looks different now, but your team and you can approach this time differently. If your office is temporarily closed, we have a 3-part checklist here that I want each of you to just take a brief look at. And when you get access to print this out after the webinar, print it out for your team and really think about it. It breaks apart 3 incredible aspects to keeping your office still running. You can look at this as a 3-legged stool. If one leg of a 3-legged stool is broken or it is shorter than the other 2 legs, that stool no longer is in balance and it may fall over and then completely break. So, marketing, revenue, and your team, they are 3 things that is so vital to your practice remaining opening in the future, continuing to be successful, not just in teledentistry, but continuing to be successful as an actual business. So let's pick apart this 3-part list. So the first one is all about marketing. There's 3 different aspects to this marketing in this little task checklist. Your doors may be temporarily closed, but they are not permanently closed. So if you happen to be watching this on the live session and your dental practice is currently closed, or if you're watching this on the replay and you're talking about closures during holidays or closures on the weekends, marketing is still a task list that should be reviewed for what is happening during the times that your dental practice is closed. And yes, we do talk marketing when it's opened, but for the sake of this closure checklist here, we're going to talk about the times when it's closed. So when it comes to marketing, the three aspects we should be discussing is social media, your email and your mailer campaigns, and then your email auto reply. I cannot tell you the number of dental offices that have just really tried to get ahead of the game and set up an email auto reply. Now, they've also taken to social media. And there are some really fun things that I'm seeing dental offices post every day. I mean, some of them are kind of going dark and I haven't seen things from them. Some are using TikTok and, giving their employees logins to their social media so that they can create content to stay connected with their patients. And then very, very few dental offices are having email campaigns or mailer campaigns go out. So let's start with social media. If your office is going through a temporary closure, when you think about your office being closed and you think about your patients and them being stuck at home, they're only looking at their phone. And I have heard more stories about people complaining over carpal tunnel or their muscles in their arms hurting because they're just on their phone so much that their hands are in this fixed posture. And so they're just looking at social media. They are watching Instagram videos and Instagram TV, and they're on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and every other social media platform you can imagine. Do you want them to see you? Do you want them to see that you are still here and alive and well? Or are you guys taking a break because you don't really know what content to put out there? And I am not a marketing guru, but what I can tell you is that no, patients don't want to just know about teeth. They want to know who your people are. And yes, they do want very fun and interesting content. So keep your social media up. If you are in a temporary office closure time or you're thinking about when your office will be closed over different holidays, plan a social media strategy. Who is going to take care of posting every other day and staying connected with your following that you have? And staying connected with them does not just mean posting something on a story or creating a picture. It also means liking and commenting on your patients' pages and those people that are following you. So take time to set that strategy and communicate that way for marketing. So if you are having a temporary office closure, you can always offer different things such as discounts on future appointments, letting them know what you're available for with regard to teledentistry. If a patient sees that you're closed and there's no activity online, they may just start Googling another dental practice that they could talk to. And so we want them to know that you are open. With regard to email and mailer campaigns, these are important. Mailers are, everyone has their own opinions on them. And everyone, some people, especially dental offices, really love them because they might bring in 20, 30, 100, 200 new patients, depending on your size a month. They are becoming a little bit in the past, and social media is definitely rising to the occasion. But we have to think about what still needs to continue. So if you are in an area where mailers work for you or newspaper ads work for you, this is a great opportunity for you to continue that and maintain it so that you did not just disappear off of the face of the earth for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it may be. And then lastly, your email auto reply. If your email auto reply, if the first 3 lines of it say something to the effect of, "We are temporarily closed due to XYZ," that immediately it triggers something for a patient. So we would want to change our perspective when we send that out. Your email auto reply should open with something positive, encouraging, letting your patients know that you are available. So there are going to be a couple of examples here in a few different slides here as we continue on in this webinar, but it'll be important for you to think about that. What does your auto reply say and what is it getting out? You can be available by phone, you can be available by email, you can be available by text message. There are many ways you can still connect with your patients. So don't shut your office down by giving a patient an immediate reply that says, we are blocked. We are no longer servicing you. Think about what you could be saying that's just a little bit different. So the number 2 section we have here is, how are you focusing on your revenue despite your closure? So again, you could be closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You could be talking about closures over the holidays in November and December. You could be talking about spring break, unless you're pediatric. So what are you doing to maintain your revenue? There should be 3 points that you are constantly thinking about, especially in a temporary office closure. Future schedule, who's been preparing it? And how often in advance are you preparing it? So right now, if your office is closed, who is working on filling your office for when it is open? And even if you don't have a specific date when it will be open, there is always that opportunity to push it out 2 more weeks and fill that schedule. You can always move patients forward. Unscheduled treatment. If you are someone who is performing teledentistry and you want to fill your schedule with exams, a wonderful place to start is contacting patients who have unscheduled treatment. Likely they're having a tooth problem, a toothache, some sort of ailment in their mouth if they have unscheduled treatment. And this is an opportunity for you to connect with them, touch base with them, let them know you are here. Even if it meant that you had to refer that patient to a colleague of yours because you're not seeing anyone even for emergent visits, it still opens the door to communication with your patients. And it promises you revenue in your future because you never fully close your door, especially if you're still providing teledentistry. The third aspect of this task list is your team. Your team in your office, no matter if you had to furlough them or not, communication is so important. How can you get your team involved and make them feel like they are still connected to you? Um, Communicating via group texts, maybe holding Zoom conference calls with your team, creating an opportunity and an outlet for them to have some forward thinking plans, such as, give them the baton to let them think, how can they improve your office, how can they help grow your practice, what things can they be doing. And third, billing and your schedule related tasks. So not only are we wanting to communicate with them so they know that you still exist and you're still thinking of them, and yes, we want to be thinking of forward thinking plans, what's going to happen in the future, but what are they able to do right now that you never want to have stopped in your dental practice? The first thing so many dental offices thought of when they had to close due to the COVID-19 pandemic was furlough everyone. That was the first thing everyone talked about. And what we didn't think about was the billing, because so many dental practices, when I first meet them, their collections are at like 90% or less in many cases. And so if you take into that equation that already has a very low percentage rate for collections, and then you put in the mix of closing an office for 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks, then you just took that collections and that time of the revenue cycle and you made it so tiny. So when it comes to teledentistry, you can keep billing going because we can keep billing out services. We can keep following up on those things. And then your team can also follow up on other billing items that have not been touched in some time or pending claims. So the third aspect of the temporary office closure checklist is really to focus on the billing and schedule related tasks that can be completed by your team. So you will have access to this printable sheet at the end of the presentation. And if you are watching this on the replay, we will include a link to tell you where you can get these from. Okay, so the teledentistry process. So in our last webinar, we covered so many details on teledentistry and questions for you to ponder as you plan for implementation. So today we're going to simplify that into 5 easy steps to get teledentistry rolling in your office, and something that you can share with your team, and you can start putting this into process if even after the last webinar, you still haven't gotten it going, it's only been like 10 days and you're just not quite sure where you want to take that, or if you can, this is going to really break that down for you and help you simplify this process for you and your team. So 5 steps for successful teledentistry. 1 is method, schedule, contact, documentation, and billing. So 5 steps for successful teledentistry. Now, before we get into this, I know that there are many different categories of dentistry. We have some oral surgeons, we have those who are in pediatric dentistry, we have general practitioners. There are so many different categories. And so sometimes it seems like, well, because I'm in this category, this doesn't apply to me. And the truth is that teledentistry can apply to anyone. It has so much to do with what you are willing to do from the comfort of your own home to make sure your patients know that you are open. And so even in pediatrics, you could still be available for moms and be there for dads and be there for guardians who take care of these children that may have a toothache and don't know how to help them. So make sure that you are always available to be a resource, even if you are in a niche part of dentistry that you don't think teledentistry quite applies to. So this is what the printable will look like, and this will be available for you to print out and put, next to a desk, to review with your team, to send out in an email, whatever works best for you. So first one is method. So consider what you are using to communicate with a patient. FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, etc. Whatever method you choose, set up a process for your team to screen the method most preferred by your patient, and then notate that in the teledentistry appointment. So one of the things our team has been doing for our dental practices is, as soon as we get a patient who wants to schedule an appointment, we are finding out, what kind of phone do you have? What kind of communication do you prefer most? And whatever that is, whatever the patient says, we put that note in the appointment. And that way, when the dentist or the doctor is looking at the appointment, they know automatically, I'm actually going to Facebook. This is the link to that person's Facebook page. It's been verified by the team, and I'm going to connect with them here. Now, if we have a patient that we schedule from Facebook, we ask the patient to go to our Facebook page and like it. That way, it's kind of a double confirmation for us that this patient, they are totally good talking to us via Facebook Messenger. They've liked our page. We've confirmed this is the patient name, this is who they are. And it's very easy for the doctor to go through it. Whatever works best, whatever method you are using to communicate. Of course, it must be HIPAA compliant, so you can't use anything like a group Zoom chat or anything like that. But Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, Google Hangout, a lot of the paid versions you need to use if you're using something that is like Skype. You can't use the free versions for those. We covered a lot of that in the first teledentistry webinar, so you'll want to take a look at that. But consider the method and how you're going to document that method. Okay, that's number 1. So number 2 is the schedule. So decide on availability and keep that consistent. So if Mondays and Tuesdays are the best days that you can schedule teledentistry appointments, choose the schedule for the rest of the time that you are going to be open for business. Set this for a permanent schedule. You are always going to be available on Mondays and Tuesdays for teledentistry calls. The patients will both anticipate this and refer their friends based on your availability. So, whatever you want to offer, I would encourage you to put this on your website. Send out a mass text message. When you're open back up in your practice, make a sign that you put at the check-in area and let your patients know that you are available for teledentistry. I mean, I know personally that I've had the flu before, and instead of going to the emergency room, I used a application to call my doctor, and I spoke to my doctor. It was amazing. How many more patients would we be able to see that really only have access from their home? I mean, we're talking about catering to not only those that have transportation, but those without transportation. Maybe the elderly or someone who just simply doesn't have transportation to get to the dental office, but maybe they have great insurance or an ability to pay for it, but they just don't have a way to get to you. So we're really changing the way that we are able to serve our community in the dental world. The next one is contact. Choose your communication method. So each communication method you choose could result in different outcomes. If you will be texting patients, set one person in charge of this so that they can remain organized. If you choose other methods, ensure that someone is available for that kind of follow up. It's really important that whatever communication method you choose, it's one that you see common results with and that you aren't having a ton of different people use that method. For example, let's say you want to implement teledentistry into your office, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, we have these two team members that don't have any work to do. So we're going to have these two team members text all of our patients and let them know. Well, what might happen is the communication method that one person uses is different than another because their personalities are different. So then patients are getting lost. They're not being communicated with consistently. They aren't offered an appointment. When they reject scheduling an appointment, we're not really fighting for that. There are many, many variables. So pick one person to do one method of communication. Give the other person the opportunity to email, or another person the opportunity to call. There are so many ways we can communicate. So, whichever works best for you, choose that and set that in motion and assign one person in charge of that so they can stay organized. The next one is documentation. So ensure everything is in order. Once the teledentistry appointment is scheduled, prepare with health history updates and photos of the interaction. Determine how you will follow up if they require a referral to a specialist or an emergency visit in your office. So documentation is really important, but knowing what's happening after that is also equally important. So if you are going to carry out a teledentistry appointment and you know that your practice is not going to be open for emergency visits, or that's just not something that your practice is comfortable with right now, or during that time, maybe the doctors are going to be out for a seminar or a holiday or a surgery, something like that. Make sure that you know what your follow up is going to look like before you go further with that teledentistry appointment. So again, just make sure that you determine how you will follow up if they require a referral to a specialist, or if there is an emergency that you can't take in your office. The last one is billing. So be sure that you are submitting billing before the deadline. So include all the required documentation, narrative, attachments, and be sure all claims are filed before mid-June 2020. Now that date, if you're watching this on the live, that's the date we have right now. But if you are watching this on a replay, you may be watching this after the deadline is listed here. You want to make sure that if you're not using an insurance, prepare in advance for pre-collecting for the payment and what that fee might be. But if you are watching this and it is after that June 2020 cutoff time, make sure that you're still billing to dental insurances for anything that you do. It may just mean that you're going to have to bill it out and charge the patient. It could also mean that you have to bill it out and write it off if that's something you want to do. And it also could mean that you're billing it out and it might be covered later. You don't quite know at this point. So just make sure that if you are doing billing with dental insurance, that you are including all of the required documentation. We did cover that in our last teledentistry webinar. So take a look at that, watch it after the fact if you haven't, and we're happy to share that with you. So okay, so teledentistry preparedness. So make sure that you are generating revenue. Teledentistry is not just picking up the phone and talking to a patient and then hanging up and not billing for it, or not, moving forward in a way that is generating revenue for your office. So this is the next printable that we are going to be offering for you. This will be available at the end of the webinar, or a link will be provided at the end for you to go and print those out. So there's 5 different aspects that we have to getting paid for teledentistry. So dental insurance and non-insured patient billing. So number 1, your patients. The dentist can perform an exam on any patient, existing or new patient. An appropriate code is required, so make sure that you review those. I'm going to touch on those here in just a little bit one more time, but a dentist is the only one that can perform those exams, and it can be existing or new patient. You will be paid or be able to collect revenue on existing and new patients. So the next one is non-insured billing. So set a plan in place for the fee and collection of payment for non-insured patients. Collect this at the time of confirmation, not after the exam. One of the things we have been learning in our journey with scheduling these teledentistry appointments has been that it is more important for us to communicate right when we're scheduling or when we're confirming exactly how an exam is going to go with the patient, and setting great expectations that we're going to be collecting this money at the time of confirmation. We're collecting it before the appointment, and letting them know how much it is, and figuring out the verbiage that works best with your demographic. Verbiage that is used in southern states may not be the same verbiage you're going to use in the Midwest. Everything is different. So definitely set a plan in place for the fee that you're going to charge and how you're going to collect that payment. You'll need to think of that even as far as collecting it and having access online to merchant services. So if your current merchant services plan does not offer an online login and you have your team working from home, how are you going to collect that payment, and what is it going to look like? The next one is insured billing. So dental insurances are accepting claims for payment, again, through that same date, unless it is extended. You must include both the 0140 or the 0170 in addition to that teledentistry appropriate code. And then follow up once you perform the teledentistry exam with your patient. Schedule a follow-up exam or emergency exam. You can bill for a second exam. Some insurance companies may not consider this against frequency. That is huge. So just know, of course, you're doing a limited exam over the phone. Or via FaceTime or Facebook Messenger. Of course, it's limited, and you're not going to be able to see everything that you need to see like you would as if you were in person. So think about that aspect too. Of course, you can bill for a second exam. We're always billing for what we do. We don't want insurance to dictate what we can do. So just make sure that you always bill for exactly what you do for the patient and do what's right for them. A healthy mouth is always the goal. And so if the only way to get a healthy mouth is to make sure you do a proper second exam, we need to make sure we are at least posting to a ledger what we are doing. The next one is maintaining teledentistry. So, teledentistry is a great option for unexpected closures, but we should continue and become an integrated best practice for this within the dental office. So, teledentistry is just coming out of the woodworks. I mean, we are this, like I said before, this is just an uncharted territory. So when it comes to continuing it on after unexpected closures, that is giving you a pathway into getting more revenue outside of business hours. Many business professionals talk about KPIs and how much you are billing per hour for the dentist and what those goals are. And many times that number is $500 to $1,000 that you're trying to bill out in a 1 hour time frame, and you're trying to get that done in an 8 hour day. But what if you could take teledentistry and you could develop KPIs for outside of business hours and have a whole new branch of revenue that you are now bringing in and offering this incredible service? Because if you're able to tend to patients outside of your normal business hours via teledentistry, then plan to bring them back in for that revenue, there is a high probability that you would have never had that opportunity before if you were just limited to the 8 or 10 hours that your dental practice is open. So maintaining teledentistry is that last aspect of this printable here, because every office needs to think about it and really keep that going. So this printable is the last printable that we're going to have for this seminar or this webinar. So this webinar is talking about contacting your patients for appointments. Some verbiage here that we want to share with you. So when communicating with patients, the simplest thing to do is to tell the team to start calling, start a marketing campaign, or send out postcards. This is not working like it once did. Statistics are coming through with the top method patients prefer to be contacted. So in the first quarter of 2020, we evaluated over 140,000 outbound contacts made by our support team. And we found that over 40% of patients responded to text messages versus 21% of patients responding to phone calls. And then emails resulted in 35% of patients scheduling appointments. So text messaging is an extremely preferred method of contact for patients that we have communicated with. And that's a lot of data to be looking at, and seeing how patients are responding. There are many times that verbally speaking to a patient, employees get nervous. Someone doesn't like their accent. They don't like the tonality of their voice. There is a lot open to interpretation when you are speaking to someone over the phone, and maybe there were no ill intentions, but it's just the way something was said that they didn't care for. They were called outside of an hour that they didn't agree to be called on. So these statistics are amazing. I mean, for over 40% of patients to respond to text messages, 21 responding to phone calls, and email 35, that shows you, hey, where should our energy be placed? If we know that over 40% of our patients are going to respond to us via text message, but only 20% via phone, let's put more of our resources towards texting patients and less of our resources towards phone. Because if you're texting, it is 2 seconds to copy, paste, and send, right? If you're calling, you might have to call 4 different numbers. You might have to leave a message. You might get placed on hold. And an employee may only be able to make anywhere from 15 calls an hour to maybe 30 calls an hour. Whereas if you were texting patients, you might be able to communicate with 100 per hour, depending on how quickly those were sent out. So here are some example verbiage templates you can use for your preferred methods of communication. These are just 2 examples. You do not have to use these in your office, and you may want different verbiage, but For texting, hello from Smile Dental. Our team is working hard to keep you and your family consistent with your dental care. We are now scheduling for a one-on-one virtual exam with Dr. Tooth. Please let us know what works best for you this time or this time. Simply reply to this message. So you can offer two date and times and let the patient reply. I would never recommend saying something like, we are available for teledentistry. So give us a call today if you want an appointment. It sounds cool, but patients are not thinking teledentistry is cool. Patients don't even know what the word teledentistry means. In fact, the first week we started calling patients to fill our dental office's schedules, we were using the verbiage teledentistry and we realized how much it was just a catastrophic failure. Truthfully, it was. We were saying these words that are buzzwords in the dental community, but they are not buzzwords to the average patient. We want to say things that resonate with them and give them an option to have us communicate with them. So when they reply to this message, it's like, well, wait, I thought your office was closed. And then we're able to open up dialogue and communication to share with them a really cool way that we can communicate now. So that's just one example for texting. And then for email, your auto reply, it is so important that an auto reply does not shut a patient out. Because if you tell a patient, we are closed until June 15th, and they called you on May 1st, or they called you on May 1st or April 1st, they are thinking, I am not going to hear from my dentist office for 1.5 months. That's a very long time. And so they are going to go online and they are going to Google another dental office and they're going to contact that dental office because that dental office is available and they did not get a notification from that dental office that said we are not available. So this is just a recommendation. Again, you can modify this however you choose. So we are open virtually, that is. Our physical location is temporarily closed for non-emergent care, but our dental team is still scheduling your dental exams virtually with Dr. Tooth. You can text or call us here. You can change that up. You can, mix those words a little bit. But whenever a auto reply email comes back, if someone is literally just looking at their phone, it's going to show them the first couple of lines of that email. And so if the first couple lines say, we are closed until further notice, they do not know if that is due to a current situation in the economy. They don't know if that's due to an illness. They don't know if that's because the office is really permanently closed. There's no answer to that. It's just they're dismissing it and moving on. So think about what your email auto reply looks like and consider the settings. Like, should it only be sent if an email is sent once? What if the patient emails twice? Is it going to continue to send them that? Who is checking your emails so that you can continue to communicate with your patients? Okay, so dental coding, I wanted to bring that up just one more time in here. So as far as your dental coding is concerned, your codes that are available for billing teledentistry right now are the 0140, the 0170, and the 0171. And then the 9992. These are the codes that you are allowed to use for teledentistry. So just make sure that these are billed in addition to the 9995 and the 9996. Okay, so this is exciting. So the last webinar we held, the number of insurances that we're paying, I think there were 10 or 12. And today we have, I think, 21 or 22. So Delta Dental, Involve, Aetna, Liberty, MetLife, United Concordia, Humana Principal, Care First, DentaQuest, Blue Cross Blue Shield North Carolina, Guardian, Emeritus, Lincoln Financial, Cigna, Sun Life, Dominion National, Anthem, Argus, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, and United Healthcare. So these are insurance companies that have agreed for a set period of time to accept, adjudicate, and pay on claims pertaining to teledentistry with the appropriate narratives attached, pictures attached, reasonings attached. Everything has to be accurate in your billing. So make sure you check our last webinar that we had on teledentistry to make sure all of that is in alignment. But this list is growing constantly and it makes me so happy. I love it. Okay, so we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions. I've got a few of them here. And then after this, we will open up to some more Q&A questions that you might have. So what are the biggest challenges you have seen with teledentistry? So we've seen a lot. When offices are contacting us to take over teledentistry for them, these are the top things that we're seeing. So one is disorganization. If you implement something brand new into your dental practice and you just throw it out there and there's no organization, this person handles step 1, this person handles step 2, this person handles step 3, then what happens is no one knows if the right hand is talking to the left, or if a claim got sent, or if the doctor knows everything he has to do or she has to do in that appointment. So it's very important that we overcome that. Lack of notation, so lack of proper notes, the communication process, and then how offices are connecting with patients. So we have seen many blanket emails come from large dental corporations that are just this like mass email that you can tell it was just a mass email sent out and it says we are available for teledentistry. So one thing I want to encourage is that if you want to make teledentistry something that is extremely special for your patients and something that you want them to view as your team going above and beyond, it needs to be personal. They need to know that you are connecting with them because you are offering them a service no one else is. And so connect with your patients on a one-on-one level. Of course, you can send out a mass email if you want to, but more than likely that mass email, if it is not something offering a specific time and date of an appointment, it looks like it was just another corporate email that was sent out. And so choosing to make something more personal is definitely where you should go with that. I would also say that a really big challenge with teledentistry is having a process in place to screen patients who are coming in for an emergency visit. There are so many incredible ways that you can screen patients over the phone and before they even enter your building if you are closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're watching this afterwards, of course, you may not need to screen, but you can take a patient's temperature before they walk into your building. You can have a sign up that you hold that says to call this number when you get here and we will provide you instructions. You can leave out hand sanitizer or you can offer gloves and masks, and you could make some incredible processes for screening patients. And screening patients, connecting with patients, these are things that these can be very disorganized and create chaos with teledentistry. So that's the biggest challenge that I would see right now. It has nothing to do with our insurance is paying and can we do it. It's these things. So these are what I would encourage you to fine tune for your practice. Can anyone do the exams for a patient via teledentistry? So no, big no. Only a licensed dentist can complete the exams via teledentistry. I have had so many calls and messages, and even the last webinar we had, there were so many patients that said, or so many dental offices that called and said, can I have my front office do the exams? Can I have my hygienist do the exams? Currently, there's not a huge space right now for hygiene and teledentistry, but I don't know where that may go in the future. There may be an avenue opened for that. But for right now, um, when you're talking about an exam, diagnostic exam, diagnosing exam, that is the job of a licensed dentist. So please make sure that you are always, following that rule. We are not in the office, so we have an auto reply set up on our email. Why do you want us to change this? So, an auto reply is appropriate, but what is your goal in communicating with your patients? What do you think that they want to see, and what creates panic? Um, yes, have an auto reply. That's great. If you can't answer your email, you should have something automatically replying to them. But do you really want them to think that you are no longer in business, or do you want them to have some sort of hope, some sort of direction on where they can go, how they can communicate with you, what's next? Because you really only have one or two sentences to get out whatever it is you want them to know about you, and whatever goal it is that you have. And whatever that is the outcome you'll see. So if your goal is that you want to keep your practice thriving and growing, communicate that with your patients. And then in the second paragraph, talk about why your office is closed. Lead with a positivity, lead with encouraging them that you are here, you are available. You want to help them. Here are the resources that that you have for them. Encourage them where you want them to call if they have an emergency. Really set the stage for what you want to see happen. What if I need to do another exam when I see them in the office? Can I bill for this? Yes, you always want to bill for what you do. However, you may not find all insurances will cover the exams a second time. I've personally read about 60% of insurance companies are covering exams and not impacting frequency rules. So that was a lot higher of a number about a week ago, but more changes continue to come. There is we'll link this too, but there is a link to the ADA billing guide. And that billing guide actually tells you all of that broken down by insurance company. That is also listed on our blog too. So we're happy to share that with you. But there's a whole list in there from the ADA that tells you exactly what insurance companies are and are not covering that. This does go back to your eligibility breakdowns. Really make sure someone is checking benefits for each individual patient before you complete that, because if you can pre-collect the amount that the patient would owe for that teledentistry visit, please do that. That way you're keeping that communication clear. But always charge out another exam. Okay, I heard most insurance companies are closed. How will we be getting paid from insurance companies during a pandemic? So, claims submitted electronically are more likely to be processed on time, and offices with electronic fund transfer capability will likely receive payment on time. Any transactions that involve paper processing will take longer under the extenuating circumstances. So, if you're watching us live, of course, you know that there's just some extenuating circumstances right now. This may be different if you're watching this on the replay. What if I am not enrolled online with any insurance company and I cannot submit claims because we are not in the office? Great question. So you can enroll online for account access to any insurance company that offers this. If it's going to request a mail verification, you can try fax claims for now. But if you are trying to get teledentistry done, even if it means that you have to plan one day a week that your team members go in to the office to send the claims out, do that. And then check your mail to see if your mail verification came in. But sending those claims online through the portals is free. There's no charge for that. So, and those claims are going to get paid so fast. I mean, holy moly, it's going to be really great. Okay, so that's the end of our presentation. Dentistry support, really quick, just to let everybody know what that is and how it works. So I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Dentistry Support, and we provide three main areas of support for dental practices. We provide eligibility verification, accounts receivables, and phone support. Our team is serving dental practices all over the US. We are currently handling teledentistry for a vast majority of them. We handle everything remotely. So we install remote access from our servers and database to your computers, and we handle everything for your offices. So our offices currently don't have to be closed other than the physical location. We are still able to generate revenue, continue working receivables, contact patients, handle all of their phones that are coming in so that they're not just going to a voicemail. So if your dental office is looking for support in that way and you're wanting to grow, or you don't have any front office and you are needing to replace that, oftentimes it is literally less than 2% of your overall revenue for us to fully support your dental practice. We don't charge a percentage of revenue, it is a flat rate. And if you enroll within 10 days of this webinar's live, you will be able to use this code that is on your screen, WD2020. We have a 10-day onboarding process, and all offices that enroll now will be going live on May 1st. So if you have more questions, you can schedule a call. You can head to our website, dentistrysupport.com, and learn more about how we work for your practice. Thank you so much, and we are going to open this for live Q&A.